let's be honest, most of the time on the gig, I'm in the pocket. I'm building the groove, supporting the band, doing what bass players do best. Oh, but when it's solo time, that's what I look forward to. That's not just a moment to shine. It's a moment that can change everything about the way that you play music. And I think every bass player, whether you're brand new or decades deep, should be taking solos. And I'm going to give you 5 reasons why. And stay with me because the last one is the key thing that you want to take away. Let's start with the obvious one, technique. Taking a solo forces you to build your chops in a way that groove playing doesn't. You might need to play faster, connect things across the neck, whereas a groove might be one steady note. You might need to play something. You may need to add articulations. Things like hammer-ons, pull-offs, slides, short notes, long notes. If I play this line, that's cool, but it sounds a lot different and a lot more alive if I do. Right? But technique doesn't just mean finger strength. It means intellectual muscle as well. You need to see how theory lays out across your fretboard. You may need to know things like scales, arpeggios, substitutions. You might need to know them cold. So it's not a matter of going, oh, this song's an A mixolydian. Where does that lay out? It's just... it's there, it's under your fingers, it's ready to go, and you can manipulate it and have some fun with it. And then, of course, that higher register of the neck, above the 12th fret, well, you're gonna have to really know that cold. And I remember in my younger days as a bass player, playing on my 4th string and running out of space because I really wanted that higher register to help me build my voice as a soloist. And lo and behold, later on, I learned there's this thing called 6-string bass. Opened up a whole new world for me because I was exploring that higher register. You never know what's going to happen. When you spend most of your time in the low end, you really think about the bass as a supportive instrument. But once you start taking solos, you start looking at your good friend in a totally new light. You start thinking about how are you going to cut through the mix? How is this instrument going to be a lead instrument? Do you play up higher on the neck? Do you dial in your tone a little differently? Do you play louder, play softer, have a different context? You really have to rethink how this instrument functions in music. And, I can't say enough about that upper register when you get up above the 12th fret. It really cuts through. Our ears are attuned to higher pitches. So that higher register of the bass is so important in this context. It just sends you singing out into the front of the band. And when you've thought through all this stuff, you stop seeing your bass as a supportive instrument. You see it as a storyteller. The person that's out in the front of the band taking the lead. What is it that this instrument brings to that role? It's powerful stuff to consider. When I got serious about soloing, I didn't just listen to bass solos. I went down the rabbit hole with horn players, pianists, vocalists, drummers. See what each of those instruments brought to the art of improvisation. Because the reality is, they spend more time in that spotlight, and their vocabulary is, in some ways, more advanced, more comfortable, something that's really worth digging into. When you start noticing how a sax player shapes a line, how a vocalist leaves space, how a drummer builds tension, you've got so many more tools at your disposal that you can start applying on the bass right away. These instruments have been out in front for so long. They've developed this tradition of pacing, drama, leadership. Studying them really gives you great riffs, but it also teaches you how to be out in front, how to lead a band from the bass. Now, don't get me wrong. There is a huge lineage of great bass soloists. They have shaped the way we approach language on our instrument, and you should transcribe those solos. You should learn how to play them, and you should pull riffs out of there. I'm not saying ignore that by any means. But the reality is, horn players, singers, pianists, they do things a little bit differently, and they have spent that time in the role. And once you study them, you're going to find yourself starting to make different musical decisions when you step forward to take a solo. Once you've been the soloist, you find yourself responding to other soloists in a much different way. You think more dynamically. You listen for space. You respond to phrasing. You're going to start shaping your groove in real time. When you start becoming more intentional about the way that you want others to support you when you're soloing, you are going to start being more responsive, more thoughtful about the ways that you support other people. If you want the band to get softer at different points in your solo, you're going to start looking for ways that you can build your groove around a lower dynamic. If you want the band to build in huge swells behind your solo, you're going to start to look for ways that you can make your groove busier, louder, and more exciting. It's a reciprocal skill set. And boy, once you have made those decisions and communicated them to other musicians, you are going to be listening and responding so much more. And the funniest thing's going to happen. Your band's going to sound better. Your soloists that you're playing behind are going to take better solos because any solo just becomes better with great support behind it. Now, this one's personal because when you solo, no one's telling you what to do. You're not serving the song. You're not laying the foundation. You are telling the story. You make the choices. Do you want your solo to be lyrical? Do you want your solo to sound a little more angular? Do you want that nice clean bass tone? Or do you want it to get a little grittier? Do you want to leave lots of space? Or do you want to play really fast? These are the choices that shape your musical identity, and they build up over time. It's like building a musical fingerprint. Your tone, your sound, your phrasing, your approach to harmony, they start to sound like you. And pretty soon, you're going to make those choices because they sound like you. And you know what's funny? Other people will start to notice what you sound like. That's a rare opportunity for a bassist. And when you take it seriously and you dial in your approach, it will change everything in your playing. And the beauty of all this work on soloing, it just feeds right back into the groove. Any new technique that you've mastered, different articulations, playing across the full register of the instrument, playing faster, playing slower, that all comes back into your bass lines. That theory you internalize, now all of those connections between chords, those harmonic shapes, inform you to possibly make your bass lines more melodic, a little thicker, in harmony, a little richer. All those riffs that you learned from sax players, those can become fills that you put into a bass line, or even the foundation of the line itself. You're just going to find things changing in your bass lines. You're going to think differently about the way you connect chords. You're going to think differently about the way that you lay on one root note. You're going to start thinking about the way that you can phrase a line. You might jump to a different register within a groove because you're comfortable now. You might start adding subtle effects to shape the sound of the bass line. Your bass game is going to be totally new, so much more deep, and honestly, so much more exciting. And more than anything, you start listening differently on stage. You respond to the way a soloist starts their phrase. You're listening for dynamic shifts. You are building your line in connection with the soloist because you have been there before. Your groove becomes more personal, more alive, and unmistakably yours. So I encourage you, take that solo. And remember, it's not an opportunity to show off. It's an opportunity to grow, to get deeper inside the music, to become more fluent on your instrument, and really to become the best bass player you can be. And yes, as bass players, we always want to serve the song with our playing. But when we step forward, we learn more about ourselves and our musicianships. And in the long run, we become better servants to the song. So take that solo and tell me how it goes. Maybe you've done this a lot. Maybe you've never done it before, but I want to hear about it. Tell me your thoughts about soloing, your experiences down in the comments, and tell me how it's changed your bass playing. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications because there is so much more coming. Thanks, everyone. See you soon.